Let me start with ladies first. Vibha, Chief Experience Officer with Shriram Automall Limited. Let's get to Manisha. She's the Head of Department for and managing customer services and customer experience with Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited. Let's give a huge round of applause, guys. We've got Arpit. He's the AVP Customer Experience at Sutherland. And I saw Vikram standing here. He manages customer experience. He heads it at PVR. So super, warm welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for joining me for this discussion. So when this subject was given, operationalizing customer experience and how do we better prepare for this future which is unpredictable, first thing that came to my mind was, as you reflect on it, for all core key functions within the organizations, there are courses, there are subjects which are in the curriculum. You want to join marketing, you can study marketing. You can study finance and then be as a part of finance organization. Even to the extent of supply chain, procurement, there are studies. One can argue that even in CX there is operations, but I would say operations is probably a very small subset of CX, and CX cuts across not just operations, but almost all tenets of the organization. With that, I would say these are the kind of forums which add a lot of value. I suspect, like myself, many of you sitting in this room would have gained experience through this process by being part of various different organizations and attending forums like these, interacting with fellow leaders. And that is where I see tons of value coming in from this discussion as well. With that, I will start off with the first question. We'll try and leave some time towards the end for all of you to have any questions asked from the panel. First question for you, actually, Arpit. When you think of challenges and barriers for the organization, what really comes to your mind, and how can businesses overcome, as they're thinking of it in terms of operationalizing the CX?
Hello, Rohit. Hello, everyone. Perfect. So there are many challenges. Let's start with the... Is this better? Perfect. So there are very many challenges that we face when we're trying to implement a CX strategy. First and foremost being understanding what the customer really wants. There are many nodes through which the customer would interact with the business. So starting from their discovery of your product, having a web experience from after that, and then in the end, if they're probably making a purchase decision. So how to solve for these things? How do you really have a holistic view of what the experience is going to be all about? We have solutions like customer journeys. We map out those customer journeys, try and live the life of the customer, going through the app, going through the website, and then just trying and see how easy it is for the customer to follow the process and in the end, complete the transaction. The other one being, how do we identify the issues that the customer would face and the opportunities attached with it? So I'll give you an example. Most of the time, as businesses, we are asking our customers, once the transaction is complete, how do you feel about the overall transaction? But the idea is, and it's very sample-based on a lot of occasions. So if you have a transactional monitoring system, you typically will take a sample, a lot of times of calls, there would be a lot of focus groups and marketing data that will be available, but never to the complete population of all the interactions that the customer would have. So technologies, and some of my expertise area is data science and speech analytics. So integrating some of these speech analytics solutions and understanding why people would call you, why they interact with the business, what the pain points are. So in the end, getting to the lead metrics that will probably extrapolate to the overall experience is very, very important. The next one would be the data silos that are created in the organizations. There's so much data lying everywhere, and most of the team would work on their own data every time. So creating those smart data lakes where all the data is being put together, and then you have an omni-channel kind of analysis, and you have some cloud solutions like Amazon Web Services to Microsoft Azure. You integrate it all together and then identify what are the right metrics to look at, how the solutioning should look like, and again, it should spread across channels, the experience that you're trying to set up for the organization. Definitely investing in the right talent is very important. Like you mentioned, a lot of time, there is no formal education that you can get for CX. And a lot of time we believe it's a side job. So it's possible we tell our operations team, can you also do our CX strategy? Which is usually not a very good idea. So the idea is create dedicated team, invest in the right kind of people, and understand what technology to leverage, which will give you the best result at the end of it. And finally saying it's about the culture of the organization. For a lot of other pieces, we know that some things work and there is a sponsorship available at the leadership level. If it is something that we are going to do as an organization just as a side job, it's never going to be successful. So again, it has to flow from the top. Leadership sponsorship should be happening, and then you make it a way of life. If we can do all of that, we'll be able to overcome majority of the CX challenges. Great.
Awesome, thanks, Arpit. My biggest learning, don't look at the pieces and parts. Break the silos, look at one full integrated picture. That'll give you a much better sort of leverage to operate customer experience in your entire organization very well. Well, with that, let me move to Vibha. So Vibha, what is the role of data and analytics in today's age, and what is it that companies can do better? How can they leverage data-driven insights in terms of customer experience?
Thank you, Rohit. Good afternoon, everyone. That's an intriguing question. In my view, the data-driven insights are key to enhancing and improving the customer experience in multiple ways. In today's environment, data is the new oil, and data is as good as the decisions it takes. So how we churn it, how we use it for various analysis, insights, and taking informed decisions is the key. The USP differentiator, or the quality of the customer experience, is very, very critical and important for any organization these days to be successful and make a mark. So the multiple ways in which data really helps in improving the customer experiences, knowing the customer, knowing your customer, what they want is prime. And data can tell you, the ROI of everything that you are doing related to the customer experience, whether it's their loyalty scores, net promoter score, CSAT. So all that data can be used to analyze where your customer is in terms of the expectation versus reality. Secondly, one can use data in improving the marketing strategies and taking decisions around what more, better, differently needs to be done in terms of brand awareness and creating a niche for the brand or the organization. Thirdly, it also helps in finding the target markets, right? And knowing the trends, behaviors of the customer, preferences, and what is it that's happening in terms of the market, and staying ahead of the competition. Last but not the least, even mapping the customer journey, finding the gaps, and how the entire journey that is being provided to the customer can be changed. There can be many game-changing decisions that can be taken through the use of the data. So I'll give a real-life example of where I work in Shriram Automall. We are the market leaders in the sale and purchase of pre-owned vehicles and equipment in the country, and the largest auctioneer. So we have a tie-up with all major banks and NBFCs for their repossessed vehicles, which we auction for the recovery. So we have developed a tool based on AI, and we have collaborated with IIT Delhi to enhance that tool. It's a live and breathing tool, and we have data of almost 12 years where what is the price, what should be the price of a pre-owned vehicle or equipment. That is the biggest question any customer has, right? Everyone wants to pay the true price of based on the age, make, model, etc. of the vehicle. So this tool is really helping, whether they are OEMs, individual customers, or dealers, in making that decision whether to buy or not at that price point. So that is a very important tool that we are using in terms of using the data from the market or historical data, as well as what are the trends, to determine the best price of the vehicle for the customer, so that at the end, the customer goes satisfied. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, Vibha. The, I think Taj was speaking before this about data as well. There is a reference, water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. Data, data everywhere, not an ounce to think. So unless, there is no dearth of data in all our organizations, in all our departments, unless we are able to make intelligent decisions and then infer something meaningful on which we can act, I think it is meaningless. So that is a muscle that we all need to build. We are all at different stages and part of life cycle right now. With that, let me move to the next question. Manisha, that's for you. That's around customer-centric culture. So how can organizations foster a customer-centric culture, and what is that different departments within the organization can do to drive it? Probably not.
Thanks, Rohit. Actually, a major challenge to operationalize CX strategies across. So with my little experience of about 18 years in the field, what I could jot down, the key ingredients for creating that customer-centric culture within organization is, first, the foremost, the very important aspect is the leadership's focus, the focus of and the passion of leadership about the area. If your leaders are passionate and focused about this aspect, it will flow down. So it's extremely important that the leaders believe in the cause, believe in the concept, and they actually live it. So that is the first and the foremost one. Followed by that would be a unified approach or an objective on customer services, which can be percolated down across your employees. Everybody should talk the same language on customer first. So objective can be devised by the management, which is genuinely related with the organization and the people, and everybody should imbibe it. So that is the number two. And as rightly said by Mr. Ron Kaufman, who is the leader, who is the guru on customer centricity, he says, "Ki your customer objective, if you really want to get it imbibed across your workforce, it should be reflective everywhere. It should be there on the notice boards, it should be there on the walls, it should be there on the websites, it should be there in the behavior, in the gestures, in the talks. So everybody in the organization should feel it. So that is how you can develop the culture. Third in line would be, as Rohit or someone of us already touched upon, is EX leads to CX. So in order to make our customers happy, we need to make our employees happy first. And this is even more important for the people who are in the in the front desks, or maybe who are directly dealing with the customers. So we need to take good care of them. And last, certainly not the least, to develop that culture, a small thing which we can do is creating more and more CFTs to create that inter-departmental integration. Creating the concept of that, working on that concept of CFTs works well. Very recently, we have done something, we have replicated a good practice from Taj, wherein what we did is we exposed our front teams, we gave them exposure by asking them to spend their half day with back-end teams, and we asked our back-end teams to spend half day in the front offices, so that they both understand the problems or the situations each other is facing, and they can then better relate and can support each other in day-to-day work. So these are the few things I think we can do to develop a good culture of customer centricity within organization. Thank you, Rohit.
Great, thanks, Manisha. And such a simple and powerful message. And who better than you to answer this? So Manisha has been with Tata for the last 18 years. The 18 years that she was talking about is with the same organization. So on customer-centric and employee-centric culture, who better? Let me move on to Vikram with the next one. So there are enough advancements in technology and automation that are happening. Our previous speakers have also been speaking on this. How should organizations think about striking a balance between human side of it as well as the technology part of it?
Thank you, Rohit. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an interesting question. You know, outside of this room also, everyone is talking about automation. And I believe that journey should be the striking, the balance between the automation and personalization or a human touch is very, very critical. More often than not, organizations decide to automate something without thinking of the nuances of what can be automated and what can't be. So, I think the first and foremost thing that is very, very crucial in terms of automating things is to figure out what are those touch points or what are those processes that you can automate. There are certain, normal processes where you have general inquiries, you have basic requests. Those can be automated very easily, but not everything can be. The second most important thing is how, with the automation, how is your data, uh, you know, uh, helping you? More often than not, again, in the organizations, the data is available. I think the data is available with every organization. It is just not structured. It's just not talking to each other. So if you call, some of the good organizations also, which are really great in the market, but you will find the journey between their automated dialers or automated softwares is broken. So when you are speaking to the dialer, it is saying something else, but when eventually lands to an agent, they are speaking something else and they have no clue. So they are not connected. And, like Vibha said, data plays a very crucial role. Um, Third is that, we should now utilize NLP and AI chatbots to actually work through. It will take about 3 to 4 months for any organization to build the right kind of answers for the consumer, but eventually it will come through. So, that is something else. Another most important factor is that your call center or your customer care agents should be well equipped to deal with that automation. They should know every aspect of automation of what can be handled with it and what can't be. And they should have those empowerments to actually, do some kind of customer delight. Uh, and one more, that's a personal experience. You should have a seamless escalation procedure from an automated dialer or automated bot to a human. So that, more often than not, again, when you speak to those dialers, you don't have a clue where to find a human. And you get stuck and you are unfortunately frustrated. And the CSAT scores and NPS scores, all that gets dropped. So I think that seamless connectivity and continuous feedback of what needs to be automated, how your automations are working is very, very crucial. Um, and there is one aspect of training um, which not only human needs but also AI needs. So that is something that we all need to invest more time and money in advancing those AIs and advancing those things. I think that is probably uh, my learning for these things.
Phenomenal. Thanks, Vikram. I like the examples that you gave towards the end. Every time I think of this balance kind of a question, we all know, and I won't take any names of the brands, but we all know there are organizations which provide very human-led experience and are very proud to do that, but sometimes it stays stuck in that one extreme zone wherein you don't utilize automation at all. You don't know what customers expressed in another channel, and you just stay in that zone for quite some time. And at the same time, the other one that you gave, which is automation can go wrong. Some things can fall apart. It has to have a seamless escalation path. But yeah, thanks, Vikram. One more question for you, Vibha. On the point of making mistakes, mistakes will continue to happen. If a brand goofs up, if there is something wrong that happens, what should be the approach? What should be the instinctive response by the company?
Yeah, sure, a very important question. But I think a short and sweet answer to that would be own it, admit, and correct it. If one can compensate adequately, if feasible, do that. And make it public. That is how a brand or an organization can build trust and retain the customers. Because when something goes wrong, how that situation is handled is the proof of the pudding, and really helps the organization, sustain the brand name in future.
Awesome. Thanks, Vibha. And thanks for the simplicity of the answer as well. Manisha, over to you. One question for you. And I'm sure in your experience, you would deal with a lot of tough customers in the business. Any tips on how should one deal with the tough customer when the policies or the rule book within the organization doesn't support that?
Very, very pertinent question, Rohit. And specifically for us, we are TPDDL and we are we are working in a regulatory environment. So many times there are things when policies do not allow us to help our customers, but they're adamant, they're tough customers. So the policy or the strategy which works for us in this kind of scenario is, one is patient listening. Patient listening, I think, cures half of the problem. We don't need to be good doctors that way. And then after patient listening, we need to communicate him very clearly about the rules and policies. The person who is dealing with the customer should be very clear about the rules and procedures. If you calmly and clearly communicate the rules and procedures, somewhere genuine customers do understand. And third, of course, is providing him a good alternate solution. So next best alternate, if we can tell him, I think that helps dealing with such tough customers. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Manisha. I have a question actually for all of you. If and feel free if you want to skip or if all of you want to answer. It is, as a CX leader, and you've been in different domains, different companies, in different industry right now. What keeps you up at night? We can probably start with you, Vibha, if you want to take a stab at it.
Well, there are many things that keeps us awake at night, but for me as a CX leader especially, it's about creating value with reduced cost. I think there's always a lot of pressure in terms of how an enhanced CX can lead to increase in sales, better retention, improved loyalty scores, but with a reduced cost.
Awesome. Yeah, I think everybody should be able to relate with it.
On a lighter note, only the building maintenance. See, we are all process-driven individuals. And more often than not, again, CX people are more process-driven. Sometimes those processes fail. And that is what actually gives us nightmare. I don't think there is any other thing that I can think of right now.
Thanks, Vikram.
Thank you, Rohit. Jugglery, all of us are going through. Of course, the one Vibha said, cost cutting to karna hi hai. So that is a tremendous pressure on all of us. You have to bring out a lot of innovative technologies and everything, but cost ko cut karna hai. So that is, of course, a nightmare. And then to us, escalations from tough customers, as you said, that is another thing which keeps us up at times. So that is it for us.
Thank you.
Okay, while they were answering, I was thinking of something. I think social media, for me, is definitely something that keeps me up at night. One thing that is drastically changing across the globe is how customers interact with the business. Sensing is the name of the game. We might believe we know everything, but we don't. So the whole idea is today, I mean, there's a very famous saying, if the customer is happy, they'll let you know as an organization. But if they're unhappy, they'll tell everybody in the world. So think about Yelp reviews to people finding solace in social media. If somebody goes to Twitter and probably tags you, and then everybody knows about the things that you have done wrong. So the whole idea is you have to be right every time. It can't be a choice of doing 90% of the time or 95% of the time. It just has to be accurate every time. And because the way people are interacting with business is changing so much, you got to be very innovative in the thought process that you have. I mean, there's a very famous quote by Michael Michalko, who wrote The Thinker Toys, right? We say something like, if you always think the way that you always thought, you'll always get what you always got. the same old ideas. If your mind is not open to the fact that something is changing and you don't want to learn it, you will be lagging behind in the race. So of course, how social media is being utilized by consumers is definitely something everybody has to be very creative about. My major job is analytics and data science. That's what I manage for Sutherland globally. So of course, I'm always on the lookout for how things are changing from a communication standpoint.
Awesome. Thanks, Arpit. I was thinking about it myself, as all of you were answering. And my thought is very similar to what you said, Arpit. There is sort of a fear of the unknown, right? There are things we know that we know. There are things we know we don't know. But there are things that we don't know, right? As an example, there is NPS that I know about. There is quantum physics. I know, but I don't know about it. I don't know what all is out there that we don't know about is what keeps me awake. But yeah, staying true to the time commitment, and unless anybody wants to add any free flowing thoughts, I'd like to open it for any questions from the audience. Not sure if somebody can hand over the mic. I can see a hand up. Yeah, we can see you. We are finding mic for you.
So my name is Durgesh. I am from Cognizant Technologies, Gurgaon. While you were asking your last question, what keeps you awake at night, I thought about what is keeping me awake at Cognizant at night. So I represent the innovation team at Cognizant for contact center businesses. And with a lot of interactions that we have been having with our clients, we have been talking about the real innovation and the real differentiation, which clients have appreciated, but from an implementation standpoint, a lot of these clients are still not ready to take that risk, if we call it as a risk. I'm going to come back and explain the scenario, but my question is your thought process in terms of how to handle a situation that I'm about to present to you. So let's imagine a situation that there is a platform that exists and there are 3 banks that are looking to implement an IVR. The platform is the same. When these 3 banks use the same platform, how can they create a strategic differentiator for the customers calling the banking IVR number 1 versus the customer calling banking IVR 2 versus the customer calling banking IVR 3? If Bank 1 implements a feature of a platform today, Bank 2 is going to implement the same feature 6 months down the line or 12 months down the line, but point really, it's just a matter of time. Which means that we keep talking about innovation, but the platforms will not make Bank 1 innovate or Bank 2 innovate in particular. If banks want to innovate, Bank 1 has to think out of the box and innovate how to give a personalized experience to a customer, how to create a strategic differentiator between Bank 1 and Bank 2, and so on and so forth. So I just thought about this one example, and I want your thoughts on it. Let's imagine the same 3 banks. Today, a customer call Bank 1. Instead of a same voice that right now runs on all these 3 IVRs, let this Bank 1 go out, partner with Amitabh Bachchan. So whenever these customers call Bank 1, on the IVR, they hear Amitabh Bachchan serving the banking customers with an exclusive contract signed between Bank 1 and Amitabh Bachchan. Let that Bank 2 go ahead and partner with Shah Rukh Khan, and let the Bank 3 go ahead and partner with Virat Kohli. I somehow think this is very much possible if these brands spend millions of dollars hiring a brand ambassador from a marketing budgeting perspective. No one takes any sort of initiative to think out of the box to create that exclusivity in the customer support perspective or a customer service perspective. I believe it's possible, I just don't know why brands hesitate to think out of the box, and I don't know if the possible risk-taking factor is 5 years down the line or 15 years down the line. But how far in the future can we expect these brands to come out and take risk which can make or break their brand in terms of the strategic advantage and an exclusive experience that only they can give to the customers, is my question, and your thoughts around the same.
Thanks, Durgesh, for your question. I don't know if anybody wants to take it. I have my own views on it as well.
I can give it a shot and anyone can add. So great, that's a great question, Durgesh. Personally, for me, what will differentiate between the three banks are the interest rates. Yeah, practically, that's what. But jokes apart, from a customer experience perspective, with the same technology available to any organization who has the money and advertise with various brand ambassadors that they can, depending on the budget. The key would be, number one, ease of doing business. How easy it is to get things done, whether it's starting from opening a bank account to transactions, to each and every step of banking. How easy it is, and how proactive the bank is to cater to your needs. That is the biggest differentiator. And the second would be personalization, knowing your customer in and out, communicating very regularly and making them feel important. That's what each customer wants to feel, right? So how much one can innovate and personalize and come up with some ideas and suggestions which really help the customer in day in and day out banking is what will differentiate.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. It was like a brilliant session here. We are really thankful to all of you here. Let's.